Welcome to the What's Working podcast, the podcast where we ask, what's working? Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on the What's Working podcast. I am Jimmy Nash, and I'm very excited to have today in the studio Jess Adanich, founder and CEO of DesignPod. Jess, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I didn't even realize at first when I first reached out that you're in Tampa, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, but now I'm in Tampa.
Okay, I'm just down in St. Petersburg. So
Oh my gosh, we're neighbors.
Yes, we are. So that's awesome. So we're looking out at the same water when we go to the water.
Yes, we are. Yeah, beautiful
Mhm.
sunshine today. Perfect temperature.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting to that perfect time of year for here in Tampa Bay area.
Yeah.
So I want to jump right in. I love what you're doing at DesignPod. Could you give me just a quick, how did you get into this? How did you start this? What is your driving force behind that?
Yeah, so I feel like my story is similar to a lot of entrepreneurs where you kind of have that entrepreneurial bug where you want to start your own company, but you're not sure if you should, how, all of that. I previously to starting DesignPod worked for Mace Pepper Spray, and I ran their marketing and design department for 6 years. And it had gotten to the point where, I really loved my job, but creatively wanted to be more fulfilled. And I didn't have a plan and just kind of jumped out of the plane to see if my parachute would open. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, you're really good at what the business is going to be, but you don't know how to essentially run a business. So over the last 7 years, I've definitely learned that, a lot of ups and downs, but it just was something that I kind of just wanted to see if I could do. At my end of life, I wanted to know that I've done all the things that I wanted to do.
Okay, that's awesome. So I think, your journey, like you said, it sounds so similar to any entrepreneur. You just have to jump. You have to go for it. My wife and I did this. I think we started our marketing about 8 years ago. So we're all kind of the same time. We were all thinking the same thing.
Yeah, it must have been something in the air or the water where we're like, let's just do this.
So just I looked through your site, your LinkedIn, you talk a lot about design and marketing strategy, how those should be so tightly integrated. So I think that's great coming from your design background, working for those clients. Can you expand a little more on, are there companies you work with that don't really integrate the design and marketing strategy? They're working independently. How do you incorporate that?
Yeah, so marketing strategies, it's basically, I tell people, kind of fancy jargon for making a plan. At the end of the day, no matter what you're working on in your business, you should have a plan to be efficient and effective. And often I think companies are kind of run in silos, and especially when it comes to design and marketing, and they don't look at the whole picture or, a few months or a few years down the road where they want to be, their goals, their budget, and making that plan. They just kind of throw stuff at the wall. So I think to be really efficient and effective, you should make a plan. So I help companies, decide if they have a design project, is that really fitting in with their goals? And in line with that, or is it just something that they think they should do, or someone told them that they should do?
I imagine that happens quite a bit. A lot of clients, I think anybody working in the marketing space, they're just like, hey, should we do this or this, that? And they just starts from in the middle somewhere, and there's no top-down design and market.
Yeah. It's like, I was at a barbecue this weekend and somebody's cousin said I should do X, Y, Z. And you're like, no, that's not a good idea at all, or use of your funds.
And it's often something that was like whatever it was 10 years ago. Like, have you ever had?
Yeah, something that doesn't exist.
Like, I think one of the things, sometimes no matter what in marketing, you have to make PowerPoints to pitch something, and they'll say, I like this PowerPoint from 2004. It's like, we could do better. We could update that a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
I wanted to jump right in. We didn't do a pre-interview call, so I'm taking a lot of information from your website. So if there's anything that you want to expand on as I go, I'm looking, you talk about fully aligning identity, voice, visuals, marketing plan. I think that's kind of what you've been talking about, and just merging that content and storytelling. And I think that's something we're very passionate here, my wife and I, because she comes from a production background in television, and I come from marketing and writing. Actually, I've done a lot of writing in various fields. So what
Love that.
what is your where do you start in like a brand storytelling?
Well, first, I think it's good to understand the client. And when I start out with a new client brand, whether it's a product or a service, I'd send them a brand discovery questionnaire. And it's a 20, 30 questions about their company to really understand what they do, who they are, who their competition is. And
Mhm.
often, if they're a newer company or even if they've been in business for a while, some of the questions they've struggled to answer because they've started their company because they're really good at what they do, but they never really thought about their mission statement or their core values. And
Mhm.
that really is at the heart and the foundation of understanding your brand and building it out. You know, if you have a company that's based on, let's say, all natural ingredients, that should be seen across your visuals, your
Right.
storytelling, your copy, all of that. And so sometimes brands overlook that.
Right. I think that that's so important. I think a lot of brands, if you get to the top, people are like, okay, their main focus is, okay, we want to sell our product. And it's like, let's back up and let's say, okay, well, people don't just buy from companies. They buy from brands they trust. They buy from what, if it's a food product, do they think, is it organic? Is it going to benefit my life? Or is it just inexpensive or those the kind of
Yeah.
things?
And people now, I think more than ever really want to invest their income in products that they align with in those
Hmm.
terms of like mission and core values. I think, I feel like I read a study, I can't remember where it was, that right now consumers are really looking into the face behind the brand. What is
Hmm.
the brand built on? Where do they put their charity dollars? If I'm going to be buying shoes, I want to buy shoes that maybe are giving shoes to, the
Right.
homeless or something like that. Because everybody works really hard for their income. So when they purchase a product, they want to make sure that they not only are buying a quality product, but that it's going to a company that they probably are in line with, whether it's culturally, politically, or, like animals, conservation,
Right.
all of that.
Right. And don't you think a lot of that's just because we have so much information at our fingertips now? I mean, just even social media, I'll see things on a brand, something I didn't know that they've done terrible. I'm like, okay, well, I probably don't want to support them.
Yes, and I think we've gotten many industries are oversaturated. So how do you stand out? And many products everyone uses. I was recently on another interview, and the example I used is if you are a soap company, everyone who makes soap, people should use soap. Everyone
Right.
should use it. But just because everyone uses it doesn't mean that every person is going to be your target consumer. So really understanding who your target market is can be very, very helpful. It's crucial.
Right. And you talked about, you already touched on conservation. And so I want to talk, I have a script, but I'm going to jump ahead because I want to talk about Sharkapalooza. So
Yeah.
tell me about Sharkapalooza.
Yes. So I have DesignPod Studio, which is a design creative agency. And then I have Fuzzy Sharks, which is a purpose driven company where I design and create products to educate and raise awareness about shark conservation. Despite being from Cleveland, Ohio, I love sharks. There's just something about them that I think is just really amazing. They've been around since the dinosaurs.
Hmm.
They're powerful. They're like the bees of the ocean. We need them in order for our oceans to be healthy and survive. And I feel that art can just like help a business, art can be a vehicle to educate and raise awareness. So Fuzzy Sharks, through doing that company, I've created a festival called Sharkapalooza, which is all about bringing together art, education, conservation, and community, which basically that means is it's a really awesome art festival with amazing artists that their subject matters on oceans or sharks. And then we bring
Hmm.
in aquariums and for educational content, food trucks, we have drinks, we're going to have a stage with live local artists. So it really is, bringing art and conservation together for a really awesome, energetic, amazing festival.
That's awesome. And that's coming in May. That is correct. The
May
next
May
one.
16th,
Okay.
2026. And
Great.
I'm really excited about it because this will be our 5th year. And the past 4 years, it's been smaller events. We've been held at breweries or wineries. But this time, we are actually taking over Coachman Park, which you being in St. Pete, I'm sure you're familiar with Coachman Park in
Hmm.
Clearwater. this massive, beautiful park. They did an amazing job in building it. It's absolutely stunning and on the water. And we are taking over the entire park, and it's going to be one hell of a festival. I'm very excited. Massive amounts of planning. I have a committee, and the committee's doing really, really great and working hard to gather all the details and the planning that we need to make it a very successful event.
That's awesome. And I say this sincerely. If there's any way my wife and I can help, we are big, like she loves, she follows the Bimini Shark Lab online.
Yeah.
She actually just, finished writing a young adult novel that's talking about conservation and the sharks and everything.
Yes.
So that is a passion of ours. And of course, we're just right here in St. Pete. So that'd be awesome to get involved with that.
Oh my gosh, I would love that. Yeah. I mean, because really writing is a form of art. So,
Yeah.
we're all about bringing together all forms of art.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Okay. So I wanted to talk about, I want to make sure we got to that. And I'm going to get
I
back
appreciate
to, our kind of goal here on the What's Working podcast is talk about what is working.
Yeah.
So, do you have any specific, like it could be one client or just industry as a whole? What are you seeing that's working, let's say now, that wasn't something 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or has changed as far as strategies?
Strategies. Well, I think the big one, AI,
Of course.
AI, everybody's talking about it. And that's something that even a year ago wasn't as big as of a thing as it is now.
Right.
But I tell clients and even potential clients that it's not going anywhere. And it's better to understand it, learn it, use it responsibly. Because just like computers or smartphones, digital photography, it's a new technology, and to see it as another tool in the toolbox, it can be a huge asset. So that's something that we've definitely been utilizing to help our clients, especially the smaller ones that maybe that are wearing, each employee is wearing multiple hats. Now AI, using it in an appropriate, responsible way, they can get more things done within their budget, which I think is really phenomenal.
Absolutely. And I think that's something I don't know any marketing company today that doesn't have to incorporate or at least suggest AI in some way. I know not everyone's quite sure how to incorporate it, and it's changing so quickly. Is there any one tool in particular that you think is just indispensable to use now?
I think the AI platforms that write, and I know content writers are going to hate me for saying that, but for a small business that needs to put out content or gather research, I think it can be incredibly useful and a starting point. I feel like a lot of the graphics AI is lagging. I think everybody thinks that all AI platforms are putting out these amazing graphic pieces, but I don't know if you've played with graphic AI at all. Sometimes it gives you things of nightmares. I mean, it's close to some really beautiful stuff, but it's also really just horrifying at sometimes.
Well, yeah. And I think also sometimes when you're looking for something very unique, it's harder for it to give you something you've never seen before because it is based on everything you've ever seen before.
Yes, true. Well, and even simple things, Photoshop is definitely something that's very heavy in my wheelhouse. In a past life, I worked for a photography studio doing digital retouching, and the AI tools within it are great. It can do things really well, but if you want to maybe expand a water image, it fills it in with like arms and legs. So things like that where it's learning, but it's not quite getting it just yet.
Right.
And then I do see clients, to your point, that, they put information into it and they want to have a logo, but then they're using a logo that's low res, and then they go to get booth assets or graphics made, and the printer's like, it's not going to print well. It's going to be pixelated. And they're like, what does pixelation mean? And, so again, using it responsibly, when I say that, I mean, double checking the information that's coming out, understanding the files that you're getting from it, so that once you start using them, you're not stuck with artwork that maybe has to be redone. You think that you're saving money or cutting corners, but ultimately you might be having to spend more money down the road because it was a low res file and now you have to have it redone.
Right. I've seen that before with clients that had something they played around. They like, I love this photo, and we're like, we can't use it, so we have to pull it into Illustrator and try to upscale it and fix it or recreate it. So I think we're all in this learning process where everyone just knows, okay, AI's here. maybe we should do something, not sure what, but let's just try it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I equate it to when, computers first came out, or, I mentioned smartphones. It wasn't that long ago that we didn't have cell phones at all. And now we all
Mhm.
have mini computers in our pockets, and they have amazing cameras on them that we can snap a photo anywhere. So it's keeping up with technology and understanding where and when to use it.
Right. Of course. Now, so we're talking about what's working. The AI, of course, is integral. Are there any old school methods that are still valid today? Things that are
Yeah.
just core marketing principles that you use in your everyday?
I am a huge, huge advocate for just good old fashioned networking.
Hmm.
There's a networking saying that people like to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And for my business, it has been tried and true. For the past 7 years, honestly, there's maybe been one or two marketing spends that I've done, but 99% of our clients are referrals. And I think that
Hmm.
that speaks volumes to not only the quality of work that we put out, but customer service, how we interact with customers. It is a very boutique experience, and we treat our clients the way we would want to be treated. And I think that no matter how far technology advances, is something that should be incredibly valued, because today, whether you're calling the cable company or trying to pay a medical bill, you're getting automated systems and press zero for operator, but you never get operator. So to have a one-to-one experience, that people are really, I think, circling back to, they just want to talk and work with a human being.
Hmm.
So that's something that is never going to go anywhere for DesignPod. It's always going to be something that we put first and foremost, is relationships, because that really is the foundation and the heart of us.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely agree on that 100%. I think most of our business has ever been referral. I think my wife, she was in New York for many years at MTV and NBC, and then when she went freelance, she said just for years she went from job to job just on referral, from this show to this show,
Yeah.
and then she finally, it was like 20 years before she had to put a resume together, and she's like, oh gosh, I don't want to put a resume. I just
What's
know
a
this person, this
resume?
person. So referrals are, I think that is the lifeblood of any business, especially in marketing. So
Yeah.
because that means somebody liked you enough to give you to someone else.
Yes. And I find also that the other side of the coin, I personally put marketing and design in like a luxury service bucket, right? If you're a
Mhm.
business and maybe you're in the service industry and machinery goes down, that's going to be your first and foremost priority, is investing the dollars in that. So for someone to invest in marketing and design, they have to see the value in it, because it is an investment. It's not just a cost. And when someone refers you, it means that that person already knows that they need your services or want your services. It's really, I use the analogy that, I can't walk up to somebody and be like, hey, your logo's really bad. Do you need a new one? It's like telling them that their baby's ugly. Like, that just starts the relationship off really bad.
Yeah.
So knowing that their baby's already ugly is helpful.
Yeah, if we could just all be honest with each other, that would be
Yes.
so easy. Hey, you need a
Right.
complete rebrand. Okay.
Right. Sure. Super. I'll do that right away.
Awesome. So, talking about, of course, we know we see the things that are working and the things that are always going to work. Is there any in your field, in our field, in marketing, in design, is there any barrier to growth or anything that you like, if there were one issue that you could wave a magic wand and just do away with tomorrow, is there anything like that in your day to day?
Uh, uh, and I will freely admit this because I am transparent to a fault. It is delegating and releasing those ropes, which I think every business owner has that. As you're smiling and nodding, we all
Yes.
get that. Our businesses are our babies. And to start understanding that as you grow, when and where to delegate and who to delegate to, because those are all different things, because that's the only way that growth is going to happen. In the beginning, you do anything and all the things, but at some point, the book Buy Back Your Time is an incredible book talking about that. Where is your
Hmm.
time best spent? And I think a lot of business owners, no matter what industry you're in, struggle with that. And it's not that you're above taking the trash out. It's things like, okay, maybe I need to set up a Calendly link so that scheduling these meetings is easier versus going back and forth of, 20 emails. When are you available? I can't do that time. Well, what about this day? Saving 10, 15 minutes can be huge. You add up all those 10, 15 minutes at the end of the week and you could have 4 hours. So things like that have been a learning curve for me, for sure.
Well, I forget, there was a different book. I've seen that book recommended. I've been meaning to buy back your time. I definitely want to read that one. But I had read years ago that I think it was Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week. And he talks
Yes.
about, he's like, even if you don't have a business yet, go online, find a freelancer, hire them to do like a $20 task just for the heck of it. Something you could do, but you could assign it and see how that feels. And it's like, get
Yes.
your feet warm in that water, because it's scary to hand over something at first, but of course you can still supervise it. You're still going to know, you're going to give direction and you're going to give feedback if it's not right, but just letting
Yeah.
go of it is so freeing.
Oh, yeah. And I, especially, to go back to Sharkapalooza, now that I have a committee, I think over the years, going now into 5 and having a committee and volunteers, I'm seeing the positive, not only in delegating because it's freeing up my time for other things, but also the chance and opportunity to empower others,
Mm-hmm.
to see them be excited because they're involved in something that they're passionate about and they're excited to work on. That
Mm-hmm.
is, I think, a really great way to change your perception on delegating, is that it's not necessarily, yes, it's getting it off your plate, but think about the person that you're giving it to, and you're giving them responsibility and a task. And I think that there's something really wonderful in that. And that's been a really great experience to uplift someone and be like, hey, you're going to be a part of this, whether it's a company or a volunteer
Mm-hmm.
position. Like, hey, join me on this adventure. It's a new chapter. Like, let's do this together. Like the teamwork aspect. I think that there's, a unique, wonderful energy in that.
So on that delegation, and I'm asking this as much of myself as of you, is there, like I've always felt there are certain things that I know I do well, but I can't make that my sole focus as a business owner. Is there like, okay, if I'm at 100% at the quality I like and someone else comes in at 95%, like what is the acceptable rate of, okay, it's almost as good as I would do it and it's worth me saving the time?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm still learning that one. I think for me, it comes in, I can do it with tasks that aren't graphic design related, if that makes sense, because
Right.
that's my heart and soul. That's where I
Right.
started, so I'm very hypercritical when it comes to designing things for Sharkapalooza or even clients. But I feel like challenge accepted. Like I challenge myself to be like, okay, Jess, let this one go. Give the designer some from leeway. Maybe it's not the way you would have done it, but it is beautiful, because 2 + 2 is always going to be 4. But in terms of marketing and design, there's best practices, but there's no
Mhm.
true like right way. There's many, many ways to have the end result come out. So I'm learning to be good about that, and I feel like I've gotten really, really good over the last many years.
Mhm. Okay, good. Yes, I think we're all deciding what quality differential on the task, but I agree on the design. That's something that can be hard, because if you're a creative and you have a vision of how that needs to look, and I feel I'm a songwriter also, so that's one thing. Like we have a company and I've written a theme song for one of their products. Like I would not want to turn that over to someone else, because I'd be like, oh, that word's no, and that word's, oh no, no, not quite.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's about picking your battles, right? Like I have learned what I should keep on my plate in terms of design and what I can
Mhm.
pass off. Like what I know in the back of my mind that like I really am in love with and I'm going to be hypercritical of, I keep that to myself, and then I can pass off other things. And I feel like it's like baby stepping.
Mhm. Definitely. So gosh, time has flown today. I try to keep these between 20 and
Yes.
30 minutes, or right in that pocket. I'd like to say, for any listeners, who maybe either working in marketing or they are looking to take on a marketing agency, but they don't have maybe a massive budget, what would be either the first 1, 2, or 3 moves that they could do that would actually move the needle with them? Like, what would be first steps if they say, I don't have a lot, but I want to start with what's going to be most effective to move us forward?
I would say first, interview different companies. I think often people might get referred to a company because they've used, which referrals are great, but I use the analogy of business dating. Design and marketing is fun, and you definitely should mesh well between the agency and the client, and finding that good relationship fit, I think, is very, very important. And not that you need someone that sees eye to eye and that the agency is always going to be a yes person, but that you can bring creative ideas to the table and challenge each other in a healthy way. But finding an agency that you like, and then sitting down and talking with them about your budget, your goals, to make a plan. And then from there, decide what works within your budget. Because like we said at the beginning of this, often companies think they have an idea of what they need, but maybe once they sit down and talk to a professional and go over all of those details, they might find that what they think their plan is really is not the best use of their dollars. So I think that any company, again, it goes back to a plan, making a plan. It's like getting in the car and just driving and not knowing where you're going to drive to. Like, you wouldn't want to waste gas. You get in the car with a purpose to drive somewhere.
Right. I just saw it the other day. They said if you don't know where you're going, you should stop driving, because otherwise you're going the wrong way. So
yeah, unless your purpose is to just drive, and then that's the purpose in itself.
That's fine. But you just want to explore. Sure. But most businesses probably want to make themselves successful. So.
Correct. And even to that analogy, you at least know if you want to explore in the woods or by the beach. You at least have a plan about exploring.
I would choose the beach. So.
Ditto. Yeah, obviously, both of us.
Let's see the chart.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Jess, so much for joining me today. Jess Adanich from DesignPod Studio in Tampa, Florida. And we're definitely going to talk some more about Sharkapalooza and see what we can do together.
Yes. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you next time.